Welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast with Joshua Latimer, where we discuss business, life, family, faith, struggle, fire, pain, and ultimately winning.
It's time to take massive action. Look, I can't work harder on your life or business than you do. It's ultimately all on you.
You know, God created all the food the birds would ever need, but he doesn't put it in their nest. You've got to go get it.
10 out of 10 people die. So how about doing something today that actually matters while you still can?
That's pretty much everything.
Okay,
All around
good.
it.
That's perfect. So you executed. You're a doer, aren't you? I like that about you.
Yes.
You made it happen. All right. So because you want to grow the thing into a beast, you know, your mindset and your time have to be 100% spent in the right areas to do it quick, right? So like when you said, well, you know, our capacity is 80 because I could hop in the field, that really shouldn't be an option in your head, because every time you do that, you're going to slow down the growth of the business. You need to focus on team building and scale. So buying a water-fed pole, I don't know. To me, that represents X amount of new customers through paid marketing, right? You just need to scale. You need to figure out and go deep on customer acquisition and retention. Make sure that your current customers love you and that they're sending you all their friends, and that you're marketing in neighborhoods and you're being a beast with all that. On the back end, when your business gets bigger, like you're going to have different pain points as we go through this process. It sounds like you're going to hit 400 this year and it will be not a problem. But next year is going to get weird, because next year you're going to need that layer of middle managers and stuff. And so you're going to have different types of challenges. You'll have different types of cash flow challenges. You're going to need to save more cash this year than you probably have in the past. Actually, for sure, you're going to have to, so that you can keep pouring gas in the fuel tank, right? So like my advice to you would not be, if you have a profitable working model, it wouldn't be this year to spend a whole bunch of money on equipment. I would do that like at the end of next year, or when you're a little bit bigger and you have way more capital than you need, because you want to get there quick, right? And you're going to need cash to start the season in the spring. You're going to need cash to train a whole bunch of new people and buy a bunch of trucks next year and to do a whole bunch more marketing, right? So that $2,000, it's not that much money, but from a mindset perspective, I wouldn't be worried about that type of stuff. There are benefits to it, because it's easier to train people on a water-fed pole than it is to get them good with the squeegee and stuff. But my head wouldn't even be there. It wouldn't matter to me, because your business model is working. You just need to be a CEO all the time and look at numbers and sales and retention the rest of this year, and continue to communicate your plans to promote some of these rock stars next year. You'll need like an actual operations manager next year, right? Did you say you're going to try to have 6 crews next year?
Yes.
Yeah. So you'll need a full-time position that's non-revenue producing, just doing site visits and following up, making sure the trucks are clean, checking in everybody's stuff, keeping track of inventory of supplies, making sure they're getting paid, making sure that he's coaching and deploying systems that you create to the team. Like, you're going to need someone to do that full-time, right, with a company car to drive around. So that's a new level right there, right?
Yeah.
And then
absolutely.
You'll have your office manager full-time, and she'll probably get an assistant next year, because she'll need to, level up as well. So like some of the lower level administrative tasks, we can hire her an assistant next year. And then you're still going to be doing sales and marketing, but you're going to start getting ready to hire someone to do sales and marketing as well. So by the end of next year, you're going to be like right in that level 4, stage 4 part of your business, right?
Yes.
You seeing the vision with that? Is that what you had in mind?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. Absolutely.
Right, but you're just going to need a lot of capital or you'll get stuck.
Okay. How much do you think I'm going to need to start January next year? Well, March.
What's your revenue 2019 going to be, your goal? If you do 400 this year and you say you want 6 crews, what is 6 crews for you? Is that like 600 and something?
I think it's 600. Yeah, 600 would be a pretty. I could probably. Let's say 600,000. Yeah.
what percentage of your revenue is, just off the top of your head, approximate, is from repeat window cleaning style service as opposed to like a house wash, which is every 2 or 3 years?
So our repeat, I mean, I can pull it up. Give me a second. But yeah, that is a good point, because we started nailing the soft washes this year. That's new. I didn't do these last year.
Right.
And that's been, but you're right. So that is something that's not going to need a repeat every year.
Mm-hmm. Which is okay. It's just going to affect your base. You know how I teach you the goal and the base and the gap? Like your base will be lower, a lot lower than 400.
10,000 of it was repeats. We had about 25% of our business was repeat business, and then 75% was new customers.
It's okay if they're new customers. I'm just asking specifically house washing, which means that service isn't needed every year typically, right?
Yeah.
Well, the good thing is
with our house wash, so I don't have that number, to be honest. That's the number I need to get. So I'm gonna get that number figured out. Because that's a good point. I never even honestly thought about that. But the good thing with the house washes we've been doing is, I kind of copied your estimate sheet, and I don't think we've done one house wash where we haven't done windows on it. So we've definitely packaged deal for sure. I pushed that at the door heavily. We're actually I'm outside of the house now, but we're at a job that we had to reschedule the windows for because we did the house wash last week and it was raining. But yeah, so we do the windows on all the house washes that we do. So we will get a portion of that revenue to repeat, but not obviously, that's the window ticket's probably $200 of it, like a $600 to $800 job. So.
Okay. Let me ask you a couple financial questions real quick, kind of rapid fire, because this is all going to tie into your question, which was how much capital do we want to have going into the spring next year, right? So what's like your cash position for your business right now, if you were to just a rough estimate what you got in the bank, what you have in receivables, and then minus off anything you owe today, like your payables? What do you got? Where are you guys at right now?
I've got about 15,000.
15? Okay. And how much is the total revenue so far this year?
Total revenue this year is, let's see here, 37 plus 11. I'm just going to rough it. 40, 50, probably 55.
55? All right.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. 55, that's not including this month, which we're about to finish. So we're right at about 90 to 100.
Okay, so I'll put 90. I'll put 95. Okay, so we're approximately saving or siphoning off 15, almost 16% on every dollar into quote unquote cash, right? So what we want to do is we want to try to project out, like, oh, and by the way, did you spend any money on capital expenses this spring? Did you buy equipment or anything this spring with money that you generated this year?
Yes, I bought a lot. I mean, I probably roughly with new washers, equipment maintenance and everything. I mean, with new capital, like 5,000.
Okay.
But
and did you have money to start the year from last year?
Not a lot. I pushed it pretty dry, probably 3,000.
Okay. So if we add in your capital that you spent on equipment to the 15 you have left, that means you've kept around 20 out of the 95 in revenue, which is 21%. That's really good. Okay, that's where we want to be. So that means out of the $400,000 goal, you still have $305,000 to go. You already have capacity and equipment. So you should be able to save like close to another $60K by the time the year's over if you don't give yourself a raise, if you don't do anything else, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you add that to the 15 you got. We're at 76, and I'll round down because something will break, and you'll have to buy some stuff. So we'll say our goal would be to have $70,000 in cash if we spent nothing, right? You with me?
Yes.
All right, and do you have debt on your vehicles, or do you pay cash for them?
So I was going to bring that up, too. So the reason that I've got about 15,000 saved right now is because I've been knocking out a credit card that I had about close to 15,000 on. I've got about 7,000 left on it. So I've put 8,000 toward the credit card. I've put about another 4,000 toward paying off one of the vehicles entirely. And I've got about $9,000 left on another one. So as far as debt goes, I've got 16,000 left and I'm completely debt free.
Okay. And it's important to you that you make that go away this year?
That is correct. I plan on having that done by the end of this month. By the end of June.
Okay. Make sure you take $10,000 and just hide it, and it doesn't exist, right? So you shouldn't even look at yourself having 15. You have 5, right? Let's let that be our starting place. And then the 70 that we were going to save, we'll take off 15,000 in debt that you're going to pay off, which drops to 55. Okay. So if we have 55,000, and next year we're going to pay cash for 3 setups, equipment, make a bunch of new hires, and do a bunch of marketing and go crazy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What's an approximate budget to set up a work vehicle for you? All in.
10,000. I could get a solid. I feel like I can get a solid used truck, 7,000-8,000.
Does that get it wrapped and outfitted with equipment and everything?
Yep. So we've got I've got a pretty good connect on we don't wrap them. I just have the logos on them, which I probably could up that. But like I said, our system's working, man. Everyone tells me to get all this fancy stuff and get all this and that. And it's like, man, this has been working. Like I've been growing. So I just keep it how it is. And I like our lettering on our trucks. So I'd say 10. To be honest, 10,000 is a pretty modest investment on a truck. So we need 2 more of those. 2 more would put us at 5. Like I said, one of my guys who drives one of his trucks, which I intend to not have to have him do. So I really ideally would need 3.
Right. Well, you're going to need a vehicle for your manager who's going to manage all these people because you can't do it. You're going to, or your business will slow down. All right. So we're going to need 30,000 to just kind of be earmarked for vehicles. And I think that's a great budget. And that's about what we spent. I've never bought a new vehicle the entire history I owned my company. We never even financed a vehicle the entire history. I think we did finance one. Yeah, like the nicest truck we ever bought for the business was, I think, 15 or 16,000 or something like that. And I think we got a loan on it for a little while. I can't remember, but that was just towards the end. And I don't remember exactly why we did that, but I'm on board with paying 10, and that thing is going to make you a fortune. You just get a good clean truck, put it on the road, put some guys in it. Okay, all right. So we'll need 30 for that, and then the big expense next year is how are we going to generate $300,000 in new customer acquisition? That's some of it will be organic, some of it will be from social stuff and Google reviews. Hopefully you're focusing on those types of things and getting a lot of it. Hopefully you have a good, relationship marketing system in place where you're thanking your customers, you're following up, you're reminding them, you're sending them whatever, little notes throughout the year, or emails. That's going to become increasingly important for your business not to get stuck. These people that you get, you have to keep them forever. Yeah, you got to keep them forever.
Yeah.
It's easy to grow from 200 to 400. It gets harder the bigger up you get because if you don't have the holes in your bucket plug, right? Okay. So what's your average ticket?
Average ticket, it didn't pop up because I can't switch cells because I'm not average ticket, well, maybe it will. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
And it won't. Average ticket's right around 400. I'm guessing, but it was like 380 something last month. I don't have the exact one for this month booked yet.
Okay. All right. So you're running about 21% profit after paying everything right now. So let's say 400 times 0.21. That's $84, right? So you should smile all the way to the bank if you can acquire a customer for less than $84. Okay. You want to do it as cheap as you can, preferably about half of that. But you can spend up to that, and you're not going backwards. It's not hurting your company. It's not doing anything bad. It's good, right? Do you understand how that works?
Yeah. No, I got you. My CAC is roughly right around $38 for all marketing in total. I've got a couple of different outlets that were around 100, and a couple of them that were around 20. So
now, do you count like referrals or people that just find you online for free in your CAC?
No.
Good. Okay, so this is only from paid things, right?
Yes. Average paid it was right around
it's perfect.
Between 35
it's
and
almost
40.
exactly what I would want it to be. I shoot for 50% of your average net profit on an average ticket. So average ticket 400, average net profit is 80, half of that's 40. Like, that's perfect. That's awesome. Okay, so 300,000 will probably be your gap next year, something like that. Your average ticket, we'll put in some better, maybe sales. How strong is your sales process? How premium is your pricing right now?
My sale, I feel like that's one of the things I'm best at. And that's why I try to focus on, like, literally this year for, like, especially in this busy season, like, probably 2 or 3 days a week, all I'm doing is driving around doing estimates. That's it. And our prices are top. They're not, they're definitely at the top of the chart as far as my industry goes. I know that because I have a couple.
We want to find a way to get your average ticket up to like 500, then to 600, right? Like, that's what we want to try to figure out. And it always feels like your pricing's at the top. It does. It's a super huge head game. It's tricky. Out of 10 bids that you give, how many of them book with you?
Probably half, to be honest. Probably 50-60%.
Are you following up with the ones that don't?
Yeah.
And they're like, so the other half are telling you, like, no, you're too expensive, screw you. Like, is that conversation happening?
Well, not necessarily. What I've started doing a couple of days ago, I think you said this on your podcast, but I heard this somewhere, and this is a genius idea, and I just started doing this 2 days ago, but I'm giving 20% off for these people that say it's too expensive if they want to book in August. So I'm trying to fill August heavy, and we're really slow and dry in August. It's just a brutal season for us, especially with the weather being perfect. It's like God's curse. But yeah, so I really want to up
That's what we did.
So I'm offering that, but we haven't necessarily. I just started that 2 days ago, so I haven't had an opportunity to really pull the trigger on that offer yet. But we'll see if we can get it for sure. Yeah.
Okay. I'd like if your close rate was a little bit higher, but, just go back and look and make sure you have the real numbers, right, on your close rate and stuff like that. But, okay, so let's say that next year, sorry, I'm going all over the place here. I just want to make sure I've got all the data. So next year, I'm going to use a higher average ticket to divide into your gap, because next year your average ticket will be higher. It just will. It goes up like every year, almost always, especially a company like yours. So I'm going to say that next year in 2019, the average will be 500. So that means you need to acquire 600 new customers, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could spend a max of like $48,000 to do that without losing any money. Or in your case, if you can keep your numbers where they are, you'll spend about $24,000 on marketing next year. So $24,000 minimum, up to $48,000 you're going to need to spend next year. You don't have to have all that in cash in the spring, but you're going to need a lot of it in cash in the spring, so you can buy the assets and prepare, right? And so back to our original thing, we need $30K for the trucks. We need at least $10,000 in just reserve that doesn't exist, and that's not even very much. And then we're going to need, let's say, $15,000 at least in marketing budget to start the year, just to have it. That puts us at $55,000. Isn't that funny?
Nice.
But you know what's really funny about this? This is the reason businesses screw themselves, okay? If we don't have this conversation and you give yourself a big raise this year and you buy a bass boat and do it, because you can, it's your money. I mean, you made it. But can you see how you get screwed and then it gets stuck? Because if you don't actually have $55K, it's going to be really hard for you to hit 600 next year. Really hard. You can't buy the trucks. You can't hire the people. You won't have a vehicle for the operations guy to drive around it. Like, you won't have the right planning, and you'll just get stuck. And people live there for 20 years. You got to have money.
Gotcha. Okay. So I definitely need more than I had intended. Well, I mean, I figured I would have that, but.
I mean, I'm padding these numbers to make sure that it's over and above what you'll probably need. But
so we've got a little comfort zone. Yeah. No, absolutely. I understand. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is definitely giving me a lot to be able to go off of as far as numbers, because I'm like really anal with my numbers as far as what I've built already with the customer acquisition cost, the average ticket, like all of that all gets logged. And I think it's fun. I don't know why. It's kind of weird. Like because
you're an entrepreneurial weirdo like me.
Goofy numbers. Yeah. Yeah. Like that's the fun part of it. Like I get excited when I get to do this and sit down and type in these numbers and stuff. So this got me some stuff that like I'm pumped up about going back and putting these into a new Excel sheet and attacking that for sure.
No, people need to hear this. Like there's so much misconception. And what happens is like that's a lot of money, right? So like at the end of the year, have you ever had $60,000 sitting in your business checking account? I mean, have you?
No, I have had probably like 30, and I've done exactly what you just said. I went out and got reckless, went on vacations, and went and trained.
Right, you got to reward yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I definitely have done that before, especially in the winter time when I'm not working as much. I get my mind a little sidetracked. I get off of work, and I get on spending and doing fun things because I get bored.
Yep.
So, that's the damaging thing I got to kind of pivot out of for sure this year. Absolutely.
Yeah, or you find something else to do in the winter that generates revenue, and then you can spend that money. But at the end of the day, you can do whatever you want, but you were real clear that you want to build a beast. And if you want to build a beast and you don't want it to take 25 years, keep paying yourself a very humble wage. Don't even feel bad when some of your employees get paid more than you. All of that is you delaying the gratification, because in a couple seasons from now, look how fast Brandon did it.
Yeah.
Right?
How fast was it? Just to jog my memory.
4 seasons.
Oh,
he went from 100,000 in revenue to like 2 million, and they're going to do 3 or 4 million this year, I think, in like 5 seasons. But it's a capital heavy thing. It's math. I just did a podcast. The math is the path.
After yeah, I heard it. I listen to him every day. I was upset. I think it was this weekend or last weekend. I was at Nationals boxing tournament, and you left me dry all weekend. I was like, man, I didn't have anything to do. I was cutting weight, and I was trying to listen to a podcast, and I didn't have one. But no, yeah, I listen to him all the time.
Awesome.
For sure.
Well, maybe, parts of this conversation would be really helpful for other people on the podcast. So how would you feel about that?
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely.
I haven't done one in a while about what we talked about today, and you're definitely not alone with this subject. Yeah, no, you brought up some serious things I need to take into consideration as far as the money goes. I mean, I just think that you're right. I am right at the breaking point or the point of either staying stagnant or growing really fast. And if I don't pick and choose financially what I'm gonna do right now, then I'm just gonna stay here, and I don't want to stay here. Like the one yesterday about momentum, that was the big one, and that's totally true. Like I'm addicted to momentum. So if I stay stagnant, then I'll fall right off. I know that. I know myself. Yeah, and it's funny because you have $15,000 in the bank, and where does your head automatically go? It goes to like, all right, equipment. I have to get rid of this money. There's too much. I have to find something to buy, right? But here's the thing, though. Like some people don't want to grow really fast. They just want to be small, manageable, and profitable. And I would have given them different advice. That's why I always say, like, it depends. It always depends on what you want. So if you buy the water-fed poles, if you develop your training systems better, and then you buy a bunch of fancy soft washing equipment, you will definitely make a higher margin, okay? So instead of like 20-something%, you'll make 30+% margin, profit after everything, right? And that's not bad, but the thing is like, if you give away all your capital so that you can make 10% more margin, you'll have more profit in the long run, but your business, the top line stays lower because you can't reinvest in scale, right? So you'll be profitable, but stuck at 400,000 or 500,000 instead of going to 6, then to 9, then to 1.3. And, that's the difference. In my perspective, after you're at scale and the business is big enough to where you say, all right, like this is a good size for us. I want to kind of chill for a minute. Then we calibrate everything. Because this is a repeat business. So then at that point, you start making huge investments in systems and processes and upsells and sales training. And, you play with your average ticket. You play with like the type of pricing and the price structure you have at different parts of the year. You invest in automation and in software and more expensive things so you can squeeze every percentage out of every dollar that you can.
Gotcha. Okay. So right now I just need to focus on scale, which I do, to be honest. That is all I really focus on is the scale for sure.
Yeah, just build your customer base up big. Yep. Okay. Focus on scale, and just since I'm going to play parts of this in the podcast, if your business isn't profitable because you're underpricing things right now, then I wouldn't tell you to focus on scale. We have to fix that first. But you're profitable enough to do this, so you can just let her rip.
Gotcha. Okay. Awesome.
Right?
Yeah. No.
There's this really cool analogy I heard Russell say one time. It's like, because some businesses, they don't charge enough, and they're not making any money. And so you can't scale that. It's like if you had a pickup truck full of watermelons that you paid $1 for, okay, you paid $1 a piece for watermelons, and then you go to the market and you sell them for 80 cents each. You just lost money, right? Well, a lot of businesses are like that, except what they think the answer is like, oh, I got to buy 2 pickup trucks full of watermelons. So that, like, scale doesn't fix it if there's not margin. But anyway,
gotcha.
you have profit.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I feel good about it. I feel like I've been doing everything right, and I got a mastermind group set up, and everybody's telling me to get all these water tip pulls, and in my gut, I like to follow my gut. I just didn't feel like I wanted to do that. And I've been procrastinating doing it, saying I was going to do it for like a month and a half, and I feel like I'm doing the right thing. I feel like we're perfectly fine being old school, doing things the old mop and squeegee way, and it's like worked really successfully. So
yeah, and you don't have to beat yourself up if you did buy it. Just know that water fed pole for $2,000 represents 52.6 customers for your business.
Gotcha.
So you can either have 52 more customers, or you can have a water fed pole with 52 less customers. And next year, you have to get a whole bunch of customers, like 600 of them.
Yeah.
So, like, that $2,000 is going to come in handy, right?
Yeah, no, it will for sure. Absolutely. As far as, I have one more question with the water fed. I know that some of these guys, like even me, I've been watching this forever. I don't think it's going to enhance my speed. But as far as a new guy, like I feel like getting a water fed pole and getting a new guy trained on that is going to be so much easier than getting him the hours and hours and hours of practice on a mop and squeegee. You know what I mean? So maybe that was the only thing that kind of pulled me in that direction. I was like, man, and quality issues as well. Like, you know, new guys are obviously not going to be able to check the detail of the window as well. I just don't want as many callbacks. But, I mean, it may still be, I feel like, a good experiment to pull the trigger on one. I'm kind of thinking that, but at the same time, I just don't want to, you know, that is, you're right, it's 52 freaking customers. I don't want to, I don't want to.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to get someone started, but you got to remember that employee still has to know how to do the traditional way of the service. So you're training them either way. And if you don't, and then you send them to a job where the water fed pole's not getting it done correctly, which happens all the time. Water feds are good for maintenance cleans, like people that you're going there twice a year, 3-4 times a year, and just doing the outside only. But you can't use it on the inside, and you can't use it on heavy soiling and stuff. So it doesn't save you in training, other than the fact that you can take a new guy and immediately have them do something in the field, but they're limited.
Yeah.
Unless you train them the other original stuff anyway.
Okay. I didn't even think of it that way. You're right. And insides, too. They've still got to do the inside windows. They can't use those in there.
Yeah, you got to train them.
Yeah, I agree. All right.
Do you have a formal training program?
I do. So not formal. I'm sorry, I lied. I don't have a formal one. So pretty much what I've been doing with the system I've set is whenever we get a new guy, which our turnover rate is very, very low. I've had probably in total maybe 10 employees, and 2 or 3 of them have left. Yeah, 3 have left, and we still are staying right at where we're at. They just stay with me this whole time. But as far as the new guys, since we've got a couple this year, I think we've hired 3 new guys, and one of them didn't really need trained at all. He came from 7 years, like I said. He's one of the experienced guys. He already knew. I went out with him a couple times, and he's a beast. So he didn't need anything. He knows how to do it. The other guys, what I do is I pretty much send them out with one of the crew leaders. I have one in specific that I have in plan for the office rep management position next year, and he just trains them. Or I'll send them on a 3-person crew, and they just stick right by them, and then they just show them how to do it. So that's kind of how I've been doing it. I don't know if you have any advice or anything I should be changing there. Or...
Well, in the boot camp, you can swipe our original 3-day basic training program and just make it your own. It's pretty simple, but no, I mean, what you're doing is okay, but it'll need to get better. So this winter, one of the things you'll need to do is put together a more robust training program. Because next year, when you're trying to go to 600K, it's just going to be I don't want to say you got lucky with good staff, because that's not the case. You're a super motivated, driven, positive person, so people are going to be attracted to your leadership style. But we want to hedge against risk, so we're going to want to have lots of applicants, lots of quality interviews, and lots of potential hires in a big stack on our desk next year, just to protect the business, right? And so that way, if someone does quit, because they will, and they'll do it in the worst time ever, then it'll be more of a speed bump instead of a cliff. So that'll just be one of the things that we work on in the winter, is tightening up all that piece of your systems. But there's some documentation in the boot camp for that. And then another thing I'd encourage you to do is start taking some video throughout the season this year and just throw it in a Dropbox folder, so you can get some video training done. You don't have to really waste your time messing with it right now, but get shots of every piece of the process. Over-explain it like you're talking to an 8-year-old with a crayon and construction paper. So however you load the equipment, however you clean the trucks out, however you squeegee using your left hand or your right hand, or however you lay down the towels, all the little things that you do that's in your brain, video all of it, and then this winter we'll put it together into a really sick training program for you. It'll save you a ton of time.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea too. So let me write that down. Training. Perfect.
Yeah, just make a checklist one night this week of everything that you can think of that could go in the video training, and then just casually, with your phone, whenever there's an opportunity, get different pieces of it and then just check it off the list. And then hopefully by the end of the year, you'll have all the boxes checked. That'll be insanely valuable for you.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. Well, I know I'm cutting into more time than I'd gotten. So
it's all right, man. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of what you're doing. Are any of the guys you hired, are they fighters?
Yeah, so that's pretty much where
I had a feeling. I had a feeling. Because that's why they're not scared of hard work. That's why they're not scared to go out and get it done, right? They're just built that way. That's really interesting.
No, absolutely. No, it's been a huge thing with my training. I know a lot of people in the mastermind group I'm in are running into huge problems with that. I've never had that problem, and I have in the back of my head probably 10 people I can call and then hire within 2 days to work that I know are, that are in shape, that are ambitious, that are, hard workers. And, that's been a lot of power for us for sure, is having other fighters, work. And not only that, I have an at-home gym that I built last year, so we get to, if we're working late, we get to train together. And so it kind of keeps them there, keeps them on the hook. It's they're not going to get that at another job, and that's their passion. So now
they'll wash houses all day, and then they'll roll for a couple hours at night.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly. So that really keeps our retention, I think, because they love it. You know what I mean? So for sure.
Very interesting. All right. Well, I appreciate what you're doing, and I'm rooting for you, and you let me know how I can help.
Awesome. Will do. I'll probably just touch base and sign up again for probably 2 months from now. Do you think that'd be a good time, or when do you think we should talk again? We don't need to talk until there's some sort of pain. I mean, you know what to do. The last encouragement is just the very beginning of our call. It was what's your goal? What's your goal for next month? Book 40% of that by the 1st. Just know your numbers. Focus on sales. Do not go back sucked into the field. Try not to do that. Focus on sales. Survive this year. Protect your cash. All next winter, we're going to put in all the infrastructure and things that we need to have in place to level up even higher, right? That's, what the plan is. So you just got to work the plan. If something horrible happens or we need to talk, then you can talk to me whenever you want. But you just got to chop wood for the next 5 months and
see what happens.
Hey, thanks for hanging out, friends. And from all of us here at the Quick Talk Podcast team, we hope you loved today's show. We hope that you were inspired to become a doer and not just a listener. Apply what you've heard today in your own business and watch things change for the better. Lastly, remember that all the money in the world can't save your soul. Seek first the kingdom of God, my friends. We'll see you next time.
For more information about the Quick Talk Podcast or Joshua's other businesses, visit our website, quicktalkpodcast.com. Have a blessed day.